Hello, I'm Tony from Bonner's Music, and this is my very quick buyer's guide to the Hammond XPK series pedal boards. Now, these are MIDI pedal boards, but they're quite unique because they also have their own sounds built in as well. There's actually 5 different bass voices built into these, and there's a jack output on the back which you can plug into an amplifier, and they're self-generating bass pedals. So as well as being able to plug them into an existing keyboard that's already producing bass sounds, these produce their own bass sounds as well. There are 3 different models in the range. There's the XPK130G, which is this one I have here, so that's a 13-note board. There's the XPK200G, which is a 20-note board that also allows you to attach an expression pedal to that as well. And there's also the XPK200GL, which is the long wooden pedal version of the XPK200G, which is another 20-note pedal board. So 3 models in the range. Each one has its own built-in sounds, and like I said, there are 5 different voices. There's your traditional organ bass sound, sort of tone wheel organ bass sound. There is also a pipe organ bass sound. There's a synth bass. There is an electric bass guitar, and there's an upright acoustic bass sound. So let's start off just by taking a look at the connections on the back of this pedal, because this will help you to understand actually what they're designed to do. So we start off on the left here with the traditional MIDI input and outputs on a 5-pin DIN, and then as we move along we've got a line output here. Now that's the audio output that the bass sound that these pedals produce actually comes out of there, so that's what you'd plug into your amplifier. Next to that you have this little control here which helps you select the different voices, and then there's the master volume control. There's a cutoff control, and I'll come to what that does in a minute, because that has 2 different functions. And there's a release control, and release is how long the note takes to decay after you let go of the pedal. So it's a bit like sustain really, but it's called release. And then of course you've got your mains input and your power switch. So let's start off by taking a look at the first voice, and that is the sound of your traditional electronic organ bass sounds. Let's just have a listen. This is the sound you get when you first plug the XPK130G into the wall. So that's a pretty standard organ bass sound. Now what you can do is use the cutoff control it has different function on different sounds. Now on the electronic organ sound, if you turn the cutoff from one extreme to the other, so that's from 0 to 10, then it actually changes the character of the electronic organ bass sound. So it actually turns it into a tone wheel organ bass sound as opposed to a transistor organ bass sound. So that's what the cutoff control does. So let's just take a listen to the second bass voice. And what I want to do in this video is actually use these pedals in context. So I have here a Roland BK7M, which I'm just using as a drum machine basically. These are no longer made anymore, unfortunately, but it's a really good little drum machine. So if you can pick one up secondhand from somewhere and you've got a Hammond organ, or to be honest with you, you're a guitarist and you want a bit of backing, the BK7M is a really good module to pick up on the second-hand market. So what I'm going to do is just play this bass sound along with an appropriate drum rhythm. So the second bass voice in the XPK130 is the sound of the pipe organ bass. So let's just take a listen to that sound on its own. And now I'm going to use the cutoff control on the pipe organ voice, and what this does is actually bring in additional sounds or additional pitches to the bass sound. So as I turn the cutoff control, just take a listen to how it adds in additional tones to the pipe organ bass. The third bass sound in the XPK-G series is the synth bass. Now this is one of my favourite bass voices. Now this is where the cutoff control is really useful, because if we just take a listen to the standard synth bass on its own, and then I use the cutoff control, it actually opens the filter up and gives you a more squelchy, brighter bass sound. So just take a listen to that, and then I'm going to play it again with a drum rhythm just to show it in context. So the fourth bass sound in the XPK-G series is the sound of the electric bass guitar. And I can add a little bit of release to this sound as well. And again, let's take a listen to that bass sound, but played along with the drum machine as well. And the final bass voice that's in the XPK-G series is the sound of the acoustic bass. That's the upright acoustic bass. And again, using the cutoff control, you've got two different bass voices here. Again, I'm going to play it with the drum machine as well, so you can hear what it sounds like if you were to use this with other instruments or other musicians. So the XPK130G can either be used by keyboard players, but also it could be used by a guitarist as well to give yourself additional bass voices. I know that over the years, certainly in the 1970s and 1980s, some experimental bands used synth bass sounds, and the guitarist was controlling the bass sound using a pedal board like this. The XPK-G series brings that up to date. You've got a choice of bass sounds, and it's also MIDI as well, so you could MIDI this up to another sound module to give you even more sounds if you wanted to. But all in all, they're quite unique products. You can see these in our stores. We have one in Eastbourne in East Sussex and one in Reigate in Surrey. Just give us a call to make sure that the model you want to see is on display, or you can order from our website, which is www.bonnersmusic.co.uk. So thanks very much for watching this movie, and I'll see you in another one of my demonstration videos.